Of course, we want to get some perspective on all of this from the Capital Times reporter Jim Small, who's joining us right now. And obviously, we just heard from Tom Horne. What does this then mean for our state? This was a very close race, but this is not a big shock.
No, it's not. I think a lot of people have seen Republicans really, making a lot of gains this year, and obviously you're seeing it at pretty much every level, congressional, statewide. Republicans are taking all of the statewide offices, it looks like right now. They're making big gains at the legislature, expanding their majorities, which were already fairly solid to begin with. And I think that this really just speaks to kind of the overall climate. We've seen for months that polls have shown voters are not happy with Democrats, and they've been really leaning towards Republicans.
Tom Horne's strategy in this race seemed to be to try to really make this a referendum on SB 1070, really drawing that striking difference between himself and Rodolini, saying that he supported it. Obviously, she did not. How much do you think that was a factor in this race?
Well, I think it was a huge factor in this race. I think, again, we've seen voters respond very favorably to SB 1070. In polls done at all levels, whether they're legislative races or statewide races or congressional races, voters in Arizona are very concerned about illegal immigration, and they like Senate Bill 1070. And when you have Democrats who came out and said, I don't like this bill, I think it's a bad bill, I think it's illegal, I think it's racist, I think it's whatever, Republicans really pounced on that opportunity and said, no, this is a good bill, this is what the people want, we're doing what the federal government should be doing. And I think that in a lot of ways, a lot of Republicans have really ridden that issue to victory tonight.
Jim, I want to ask you about a couple of things. First of all, we really haven't touched about the state legislature and the balance of power there. Republicans solidly in control of both the state house and Senate as well, and maybe even gaining a few seats tonight as well. Just by my scan here, it looks like perhaps Senator Rebecca Rios, for instance, might be upset, and that might be one of the upsets that we're focusing on. But isn't this also then a mandate with a Republican in the governor's office, with Republicans occupying every statewide office and in firm control of the state legislature, that if they don't do something about this budget and they don't do something about the economy in Arizona, things could be much different just 2 years down the road?
I think they absolutely could be. I think whereas you saw a little bit more reticence to doing some of the really, really deep budget cuts in the past 2 years, just because of the makeup of the legislature, even though Republicans did control it, I think you're going to see a little bit more of that now. You're going to have wider majorities. The Senate is likely going to go from 18 members to 20 or 21 Republicans out of 30. In the House, you have 35 Republicans. It's probably going to shift to be something more along the lines of 37, 38, something in that neighborhood. And the Republicans are getting in there a little bit more conservative. So I think you're going to see a really big push to make deep budget cuts, deeper than what's already done, and really any resistance to any other budget balancing techniques like borrowing or additional tax increases.
How much of a pickle is the failure to pass Propositions 301 and 302 for this legislature? We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that they were essentially counting on to at least patch it for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at about $770 million combined between the two of those that was included in the current year's budget. That means when lawmakers come back in January, the first thing they're going to have to do is go into a special session, and they're going to have to fix that budget. They're going to have to figure out a way to bridge that budget gap. They're going to have to probably move some of that the spending cuts and the problems down to the next fiscal year. At the end of the day, though, it's not something that was entirely unexpected. I think even a lot of lawmakers, when they passed that budget, you put these things on the ballot with the intent that they would have to deal with them later. I don't know that there was really a whole lot of belief, even among Republican lawmakers, that these items would pass and that voters would say, yes, please take this money and use it for programs we didn't want you to use it for initially.
Jim, how much from all these Republicans showing up at this vote tonight, how much did that affect Proposition 203, which generally brings out a lot of Democrats to vote yes for it? Did that have some sort of a shift? We're still seeing that proposition so close, too close to call at this point.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think that's an issue you would traditionally say conservative voters aren't going to support, legalizing of marijuana in any form. Like you said, I mean, this thing is very close. There's still a lot of ballots left to be counted, and it's narrowing. I don't think that the lead has been more than, or the margin of defeat has been more than 1 percentage point yet tonight. It seems like it's kind of going back and forth a little bit. I imagine, that race might get tighter, and frankly, I think at the end of the day, that might be the one race that was close and the one race that people are watching tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, about 10,000 votes separating it right now. Jim Small, thanks so much for your expertise there from the Arizona Capital Times. We appreciate you joining us tonight.